Hey y'all, just a quick note. I already made a community post about this, but I have not been using Game Boy Studio a lot. But I'm starting to use it a little bit more because I'm wanting to do a little bit of game development myself, just as a hobby. And I realized that I definitely need to reduce my color count. I like using 4 colors, but three's the better one. But in this one, I try to use colors that are more close to the Game Boy Studio palette. But in the end, I still end up having to change how my character looks, and that's okay. It's all a part of experimenting with art. And sometimes experimenting requires you to experiment within like a predetermined box, which can actually boost creativity, and that's a good thing. So at some point in the video, you're going to see the witch character in a totally different look that's much closer to the final look, but it's also because I forgot to record a part of it. Just a quick mention, if you're not wanting to watch the character design process and listen to me talk about my thought process going through making the four-way turns on this character, I will have chapters and whatnot in the description. So feel free to go ahead and skip ahead to the animation if that's all you need. It's no big deal. Ended up deciding to design a witch character because I just like witches, the witch hat's cool and everything, and I like the whole idea behind them, some lore that some people come up with for them, and so on. And I thought that this would make a good character for a game in general, but also that a witch character is very easily recognized. It's very easy to make a silhouette for it that, stands out, compared to your more generic, here's a villager or something. Also debated about giving my witch some pants because I thought that maybe people would like to see the feet being animated back and forth, but it's not too often I think that people animate somebody in a skirt versus that because, your standard walk cycle always has the legs showing. At least in the sense of like a walk cycle tutorial. I'll be sure to link a couple of those in the description because a lot of people have already explained those better than I personally can. However, there's a possibility I'm going to have to make another human character for the game at some point, so I'll probably end up doing another one of these. Now, I could have given my character just plain straight hair, but I thought that an upturned hair, or something that kind of implies maybe the hair is kind of fluffy or something, would be a little bit more interesting looking, and give her a more interesting silhouette overall. I am going to have to make the little, I guess, hip area of the skirt a little bit taller or something as I go with animating it. You'll see how it goes as I get going. Here I'm just trying to make the dress look a little bit more interesting, but overall I'm probably going to have to... Yeah, I do end up getting rid of this later, actually. It's likely that you can't do this with every design ever, but I end up copying and pasting the forward-facing design and place it where I want the backwards-facing design, and then I end up, just changing it as needed. And then I'm just going to copy the hat over to the sideways-facing ones, because, the hat's going to look relatively the same no matter what side it's on. Now, I could have gone and left the face flat, but I thought it would be more interesting to have kind of a nose shape on there. And it looks cute, right? Now this comes down to personal preference, but I was trying to decide if I really wanted the harsh color line against the chin there, or if I just wanted the chin to stand out, and so on and so forth. I do think that I made the right decision for myself here. The mouth stands out much better as it is now, and I think it was a good thing. If you preferred the mouth the way it was before, you know what? Art is subjective. Do what you want with it. Come to think of it, I haven't even thought of a name for this character. I mean, like, the generic, Witch name would be like Hazel or something like that. And no shade on Witch Hazel from Looney Tunes, she is absolutely adorable. But yeah, a name is definitely something that I need to simmer on. I mean, if any of you have a suggestion, feel free to drop something in the comments for me, I'll check it. I'm literally just going to copy and flip the character over to the other side so that way she's facing the other way. I do believe that Game Boy Studio can do this for you, so this step isn't really necessary. But it's fun. It always takes me a moment to figure out how to flip these things around because I do it so little. And now I need to make the back-facing character. I want a little bit of, I guess you could call it texture on the back of the hair, but I didn't want it to look too symmetrical, so I end up, well, you'll see. The left and the right sides of the hair itself are already symmetrical enough, so why push it too much further? By the way, I suggest saving your project right at the beginning of starting it. That way you can just press, Control S or whatever your shortcut key is frequently, and not lose your progress if your computer decided to shut down or you lost your power or something. Now these sprites are going to have to be on a proper sprite sheet, but for the sake of animating and testing my animation, I'm taking them over and transferring them to a new canvas, where I can press a little play button and test it as like a GIF or something like that in the process of editing it. By the way, if you're in the process of learning Game Boy Studio like I am, having your background this particular shade of green is not the brightest idea. It's going to be a solid color and it's going to go over your background elements. You actually want it to be that super bright, like almost like a green screen kind of green color, so it can be transparent. Now, I'm not a huge fan of staring at that super saturated green color the whole time I'm editing, so I'm probably still going to edit with the lightest color like this anyway in the future. Now, taking lessons from old sprites from things like the Pokemon games, etc., I'm going to just make one hand get bigger and then the other one get smaller as the character is walking. And thinking about characters like Princess Peach with the skirt and everything, when she's moving, the skirt itself is actually going to get a little bit taller and shorter, and it'll give us the illusion that the character is actually moving their feet underneath the skirt because the character is also going to be bouncing up and down respectively as well. Now here I'm laughing at the hat because I didn't adjust the rest of the sprites for it. It's pretty neat though. So I've gone and just copied the hand going forward on the character's left side, and I'm going to paste it, and then I'm just going to flip it so it goes on the right side. I had to cut out quite a bit of me just kind of messing around and everything with the sprite, so if things look a little bit off from the previous, clip, well, that's why. So, spoiler, this is the final sprite sheet. I did not record the movement correctly for the side view. So I ended up having to cut these sprites out of my sprite sheet and then toss them onto a new file to animate it and redo how I did it. I also switched to Pixel Edit for reasons that I cannot remember. Yeah. My apologies, for whatever reason OBS does not show the menus that I'm clicking up above, but I just basically made the whole thing 3 tiles wide, you know. Animating the side view really isn't too far off from the front and back views. I'm just going to be moving the hand, or that square, I guess, back and forth respectively as needed, and I'm going to have the character bouncing up and down as well. Now, when the arm goes backwards, it actually goes backwards further than it goes forward when the arm's going forward. This is just, my personal preference. Once again, you do you. And I'm going to be using Pixel Edit's animation feature to test the animation a little bit, and I realized that I actually need a 4th frame there to properly get a good look at it. But it works out. But before adding the 4th frame, I'm going to be adding the bounce animation to it. And back to the original look, we need to set up the back-facing sprite. We need to add the bounce to it, we need to have the hand motions, and of course we need to fix that darn hat. If you would like to have a closer look at the sprite sheet that's not in the video and everything, I do have it up on my Ko-fi. I still can't decide on a pronunciation for that. I should really look that up. But it will be a completely free download. It's just the easiest place for me to send you to download things. It isn't something like a Dropbox. You're more than welcome to use the sprite as a placeholder to study it or anything like that, but please don't, redistribute it or sell it or anything silly like that. once again, I greatly appreciate you taking an interest in my hobby here. And I'm glad to be able to share this with you all. I'm still learning Game Boy Studio. I'm still learning sprites, even though I've been doing this since like 2015. But once you go from making, you know, your standard like 32 by 32 little guys and switch to 16 by 16 little guys, things get complicated. But I stand by that pixel art is like a puzzle. It makes you think, but it's fun. But yeah, I hope y'all have a great time, great day, great week, great month. All the greats. You do you. Have fun making art. And I hope that you have a great time working with Game Boy Studio and all that. Thank you again. Take care.